The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
There is nobody that holds a candle to the king.
You know, I wouldn't be opposed to, maybe you build some tag teams here.
We are the absolute best tag team of all time, bar none, the greatest tag team of all time.
Jay White's going to be a star, no matter where he goes.
I'm going to be the guy that spits in the face of cliches. I'm going to be the guy that tells time to off.
Man, what in the world is Joe doing? Just standing. And then I thought to myself, maybe he just likes Jericho's music as much as I do.
Smackdown has always been the better show. 04, 05, 06. Smackdown was a better show then. Smackdown is a better show now. Look at what happens in the women's division. I guarantee you, we can take the same women that Raw has, put them on Smackdown, and they will flourish. The same thing with any superstar.
Well,
Smackdown's a land of opportunity.
04, 05, 06, okay, Smackdown the conversation. What about 09, 10, 11? Was Smackdown better then?
No, it wasn't. I thought it went through a huge slump, and I'm not sure what happened, but you had the Halcyon days, the heyday of the mid-2000s, and I think you have that again right now. I think SmackDown is head and shoulders a better show.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Welcome, everyone, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 247, part 1. And yes, that was an intro you've heard before in the past, but that's okay because it is going to kind of lead into some quick hits we're going to talk about when it comes to SmackDown and some talent coming over there possibly. Plus, we're also going to jump into some other great things like War of the Worlds. That's right, it happened this past week. You don't want to miss what happened there and get all of our thoughts on all the different things that took place in that show. Plus, we're talking Best of Super Juniors as well. That's right, we've got a lot involved there. And, of course, we're going to also get into this Ring of Honor taping that also followed. So we're not going to miss that. We're not going to skip it on that just because we're doing War of the Worlds. We're doing everything in this show, and we're excited about doing it. You guys are not going to want to miss a minute of the action. Of course, I am Gary Vaughan. Along with me is Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
And Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And guys, of course, we do have, like I said, a full show ahead for everybody. Of course, we want to let everybody know. Go check out W2Mnet.com. That, of course, gets you all your wrestling needs, plus a lot more, of course, when it comes to the world of maybe football, if you're interested in that, along with video games and entertainment. Trust me, a great website that people need to go check out if they haven't done it already, along with if you want to go find us on whatever podcasting thing you do. Maybe iTunes or whatever podcast addict. Go make sure you go subscribe to either Wrestling to the Max, or if you want everything that the website has to offer, the W2M Network. But boys, this has been an interesting weekend. Of course, all these great shows going on and a lot of big news we're going to be talking about tonight on this show. But I do want to throw something out there before we go too far into the show and what happened in quick hits and all of that. There is a lot more coming out. Of course, if you're following the schedule of WWE this week, there is everything under the sun. They have a show every day, and that's going to give everyone a full weekend of wrestling. But that also means that we've got more content coming our way in this UK show that they'll be debuting. And, of course, we're expecting a women's show to be around the corner after the women's tournament is concluded. So, they are filling our plates full of wrestling content, which is great as wrestling fans, but bad when you have a show that covers everything under the sun when it comes to wrestling because, guys, we do have lives. I know it's kind of surprising to some people, but we do have families. We do have situations.
And there's stuff we don't cover, so imagine if we covered all that.
Oh, Plus Lucha Underground coming. My God, Sean. I mean, they're, like you just said, stuff we don't cover. Oh, boy. So we have been discussing this, and this is still in the works. I don't want anybody to think that we're nailing in what we're doing and what we're not doing. But I do want to let people know that we're kind of taking a little bit of inventory here, and we're kind of seeing what you guys as listeners want, because we do the show for you guys, and we kind of do it for us too. We love talking wrestling, so this is the perfect platform to do it. But to kind of give you guys what you want, we want to hear from you and maybe some of the shows that you really want to hear us talk about the most. We're going to cover all the WWE shows, Raw and SmackDown. You're still going to get those reviews. You're going to get the NXT review along with a 205 Live review. We're not cutting those shows. They're always going to be there because those are big staples as long as they're around, right? But we are still contemplating on some of the other shows that maybe we're not sold that you guys want to hear so much. So, tell us what you think about Ring of Honor. Tell us what you think about Impact Wrestling. We've really not got a lot of love for Impact Wrestling. That's the show that we're kind of looking at maybe being on the chopping block. And there could be also some things in the works where we're separating some shows there and here, everywhere. So if you want to come find us, make sure you come and you contact us and let us know what your thoughts are, what shows you want to hear us talk more about or maybe less of. Tell us, hey, I hate when you guys review this certain product. Let us know that. And Sean, tell the people how they can go and find us and how they can comment and let you know and me know and everyone else know about that.
If you use Twitter, just hit me up at WTMSean. Just tweet me, hey, don't cut this show off. I like it. I listened for it. Obviously, we have to weigh out that if it's one person that likes that show and nobody else says anything, we still have to weigh that because we're the ones spending the 2 hours having to. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest and transparent here that I don't always sit here and watch everything with my eyes glued to the TV screen, especially with the website now. A lot of times I have to have my TV and my computer are literally like, I want to say a feet apart from each other or a foot apart from each other, so I can have something on in the background that I sort of have my eye on while I'm doing other stuff. I know these guys sometimes can do the same thing. So, I mean, me personally, it doesn't bother me, but it's still the 2 hours that we have to spend having to make sure that we cover this thing. So, hey, look, if there's a drove of you guys that listen to this, hit me up there. You can also comment on the podcast post on the website, WTMNet. That's also really easy to do. You just go in there and comment. Lets us know that you're listening and that you like a certain show, whether it's ROH or Impact or the WWE shows aren't going to go away. But once we get to, I mean, we're even starting to wonder with the UK show. But if they do that women's tournament show, whatever they're going to call that, and if they go on and do something for the Asia and Latin America stuff, that is where, we might really have to start looking down at the barrel and going, wait, WWE is really pushing it here. And hey, you know what? If you like Impact enough and you have Skype, you need to have Skype because, or be able to use some kind of Google Hangout or something, and you'd like to say, hey, I really like Impact, can I do the show? Or whatever, instead, we're for that too. If we don't have to do something, but one of you guys that listens is a really big fan of that show and wants to do it, by all means, please. And even if you want to enter into the rotation on SmackDown or Raw or whatever, obviously you have to be available right after that show's over. You can't tell me, hey, I can do it, but like on Tuesday night for Raw, that doesn't work. To give one of us a break or whatever, we're all for that too. So there's also an email, just w2mnetwork@gmail.com. There's the Facebook group. If you're in the Wrestling to the Max Facebook group, just make a post saying, hey, I listened. I wanted to join the conversation about the shows you cover. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. Even if you're a friend of one of ours personally and you listen, there's Messenger. You can always message one of us or, post on our walls, I guess, as well, to let us know, hey, I listen, don't cut the show off or whatever.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And of course, there is an application process to go through. You'll be vetted.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on the website, and it's not that big a deal to just punch in W2Mnet.com. There's a Write for Us section, or you can just go to the Join the W2M Network section. There is a contact form on both of those posts. And you can just put in a little bit of information about yourself, and it sends me an email, and that way I know who you are, and you can tell me there, hey, I want to cover the Impact show or whatever. I want to be on for SmackDown, I want to be on for Raw. Just you can let me know there. That makes it really easy. Obviously, if you just send an email to that email and explain that, you can also do that. But yeah, there's various ways to get in contact with us, to let us know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know that I can make another survey because I think SurveyMonkey is going to make me pay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. We already pay for enough stuff.
Definitely. No, I mean, once again, let your voice be heard. Don't sit around and just say, oh, someone else will say what I want to say. No, you've got to do it just like you hear about the election. Go vote. Well, tell us. Tell us what you care about. If you don't want us to cut something, just give us the word, and maybe your word is the one that saves that show, or maybe it takes that show away. We appreciate everyone who does listen and who gives us feedback. It always gives us a way to evolutionize this entire show because we do this on a regular basis. We continually do this. We've done it since the start. I mean, my God, this show is so much different than it began. So we'll be doing that, and it'll be a lot different 2 years from now. But, Paul, we kind of talked about this also for the fact that we're not doing this just to hurt or do anything to change. It's really just about us keeping sane and also keeping us in a situation where we're still loving wrestling and not making this a full-time job.
Right. I mean, we're getting close to having to watch double digits worth of shows, and that's a week. It's just getting a little much, so we're just trying to make sure we have time to do other things we enjoy besides wrestling. And I think that's what's important is not only enjoyment, but sanity as well. So
yeah.
No EYs on this show.
Yeah. I call Nikki Cross. I'll be that character.
Yeah, man, we already got, New Japan has a lot of stuff that they do, and there's times where, you've already heard me, where I don't necessarily watch the undercard stuff that's not necessarily that important to what happens, just because, again, time is limited. But Paul does, so he can cover that part for you. It's just, there are things that we like to watch, even things that we like to watch that we do not cover on this show. We personally, so, all the Flow Slam stuff, just because Flow Slam, $20 a month to commit to something when we're already committing a lot of money to other things, that's a lot. So, if they brought their price, I know if we all banded together and paid for the 1 year thing, I guess it's not too bad. But again, that's money you have to have right then, and that's not something that you always have to dedicate to basically your hobby when you have other responsibilities. And, so if we want to watch those things when we have so much of that cut into by things that we have to watch, not even putting aside, TV shows, movies or whatever, spending time with family, all that stuff. Because that's also, you got to think about it like this too. That's hours that we could be spending time. Well, we know you guys enjoy it, obviously, because we can look at the numbers that we get. Just when it's inside the WTM episode, I can't, unless there's some technology that some app that you guys can let me know exists. I can't see what people listen to in certain sections. All I can see is what they listen to as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you give us feedback on a certain section, we're not going to know. The only reason we know that the New Japan stuff does well is because when we've done it separately away from WTM, the episode, it always does well. And every time that we cover a New Japan topic on the show in length, that show usually does better. Because, YouTube people like it and all that stuff. But so that's not going off the table at all. But just like Impact, ROH, even some of the, the fringe WWE, 205 Lives, NXTs, if you're going, man, I really like that, don't take it away, or, you know what, I really don't care for it that much, you can let us know either way, because the less wrestling we have to sit here and watch on a weekly basis, it gives us more freedom to do other things, and also gives us more freedom to think about things for the WTM shows, as far as just topics, or making sure we're more on point with news and stuff like that. So it could also help make the show better, because that's why we took some of these things out of the show, so that WTM episodes are not, hey, we're just reviewing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that's annoying for people too. So,
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and I know we're taking a long time on this, but we want to give you guys a clear picture of what we're thinking and all that. So there you go. You got a clear picture. Make sure you give us your feedback and let us know how you do feel. Right now, where we sit, we're really considering quality over quantity. That's our thought process. So. All right, guys. Well, let's move on. We've got to talk some quick hits here and actually talk some wrestling. So let's do it now.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, we had a big to-do when it came to War of the Worlds, because there was a new title introduced and announced by New Japan. And this is one that I think a lot of people were kind of wondering about if this was ever going to happen. But they created the IWGP United States Championship. And that was, once again, presented at the World of Worlds. So this is kind of cool. I mean, I know that they've got those big shows happening July 1st and July 2nd. And, of course, this will be a big feature here in the States over there in California. So, I mean, Paul, how would you feel about this?
This is a huge deal. This is them already doubling down and sort of committing to a U.S. touring brand, because that's what this championship is being created for. There's talk of them founding another dojo back in California again, and trying to get everything up and running to get this second touring brand running here in the States. And on these shows in Long Beach now on July 1st and 2nd, there's going to be a tournament to crown the first IWGP United States champion. Jay Lethal's the first guy in. So not only do you have these to look forward to, but they've also said that there's going to be an Intercontinental title and a World IWGP Heavyweight title defense on these shows. So these shows in the U.S. are now massively important, not just for fans here in the States getting a chance to see the shows live, but for the guys in Japan in general and just everywhere. That if you're a New Japan fan, these shows are now must watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're totally must watch. And just because you're really starting the beginning of, hey, we're going to do this more. So if you want to see how things go the first time around and be there from the beginning, this is your moment to get into this. And they also had like a planning meeting where they do confirm the dojo is happening. They're going to have more details on the dojo later. But once again, Kadani talks about having a cable TV station that could air these shows, not named Access. And, not these shows in particular, but if they do have a presence in the U.S. and this succeeds, how they could go about having this aired where more people can watch it is, and now they've announced they have 50,000 New Japan World subscribers, which that's good. Obviously they want to have more by this point. They've been wanting 100,000 by this point for a long time, but apparently the growth is steady, which that's very good. That's what you need more than anything. The U.S. title thing, I think, is people are blowing this out of proportion that are getting very angry about this. Look, we got to remember that New Japan, they want to compete with WWE, and they're also, the U.S. title is sort of going to be the main title for these shows. Now, granted, could this become an IC title situation where we see it on more of the New Japan shows? Yes. But they book their champions well, so I don't have a problem with it per se. Yeah, you have the goofy 6-man tag titles, and they get switched around every other day, and I'm making a joke, but that's what it seems like it happens with those titles. But that's okay. That's what those are for. I don't have a problem if now you have a US and IC champion because of how they book their champions, and they do it well. If they were, just booking all their champions like crap, I wouldn't care, but they make it a big deal to have these titles. And it makes their shows, like, you can have more shows now where you have important matches, even on these Road to shows, as we've seen, and it makes you want to watch them instead of going, it's a house show, I can skip it. Maybe that's the one match you watch, and it justifies your New Japan World subscription, if not just more for the other things that they air. And right now, if you, like Tom said in the intro to our Super Junior Roundtable, that should be up by the morning. Right now is a great time to get New Japan World, because not only do you get the whole Super Junior tournament, you get Dominion too, which is their SummerSlam. So if you're interested in these, G1 USA shows, I think right now would be kind of a good time for you to sort of, hey, let me see what New Japan is about. And a lot of the big shows now have English commentary too, so check it out, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And this U.S. championship for New Japan, like you guys just mentioned, it really helps that touring brand. It makes a lot more sense because of the fact that a lot of people over here, especially in those tours, are going to want to see some matches where a belt is defended of some sort, and they're not going to be able to bring over, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and all these other, the Neverweight title and all that. They're not going to be having those tour over here as much, and so this is important to have, and, it only makes all the sense in the world. And how can anybody be mad? I mean, WWE just, presented a UK championship, so it's the same way. That's why they're doing that. They're not going to bring over the NXT title to the UK for a ton of time. They wouldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, don't hate one and love the other. Understand that they're basically kind of doing the same thing, Yeah,
we might see the UK, like the UK show showed up on, is going to be on an NXT takeover. You might get that with the US title, where maybe it's on a Lionsgate show or something like that. Or on a regular, New Japan show. But I don't really have a problem with it as long as it's not every single time. But it's like, you got to think about it like this too. It's your time to also see a special single match for New Japan, because it's not like they go around like WWE and just have singles matches with these guys all the time. The only time you get that is when you have a title defended.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to see something that's not a six-man tag match, this is another way to get that, really.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what do you think about the belt itself? It's kind of gaudy, it's got the big emblem, but it goes along with all their other titles that also have the big emblem in the front, and then, that's kind of what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
if it's an IWGP title and it's not gaudy, then they're not doing it right. I mean, a lot of their older ones were a lot plainer, and but I mean, since the new revitalization of New Japan back in the mid 2000s, like that IWGP heavyweight title is the very definition of gaudy. So I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks good for the most part. I think it does justice. So I have no complaints against that title.
I like the red strap a lot too. I think it looks great.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. And, the WWE's Intercontinental title, I've always liked the white strap, so that makes sense for them to have a red strap. It makes it just different. It stands out. So, we're talking about Japan here. Let's talk about someone coming from Japan over here to the States and who's wanting to make their name known, especially within the WWE. Hiroshi Shirai has finally been confirmed to come over here and sign with WWE. Now, there was lots of rumors on the contrary saying that wasn't the truth, but we're getting that confirmation that it is actually taking place. So, Sean, I mean, my goodness, it seems like this has been this whole ongoing thing, but it's nice to get some clarity.
It is nice to get some clarity. I think we got to look back and remember that. What is that number one thing WWE tells you to do if you signed? Deny, deny, deny. Right? So that's maybe what she was doing, was just denying, because that was the thing that it was coming out of her that she said no after the tryout that she had. So in a way, if you think about it, it's not that surprising, but like this is great. Look, you get both Kairi Hojo and her. As far as WWE is concerned, it's great. What a women's tournament you're going to have if both of them are in it, and then all the other ladies that are going to be in it. My goodness. We were wondering if they could stack up the deck as far as big names against the Cruiserweight tournament, and maybe perhaps this is going to have even, when you look at all the guys that we didn't even know that were in the Cruiserweight tournament, the guys that got all eliminated really quickly, this one could have a bunch of even bigger names as far as names you do know, and you're going, man, who are they going to eliminate first, and how are they going to do this? Look, she's awesome. Of course, everybody's going to be wondering now, when is the Asuka and Io match going to happen? Definitely want to see it, so get the ball rolling, NXT.
I mean, there's no timetable yet on when exactly she's going to come over, or if she's just doing the tournament or anything like this. So, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns in the air still, but, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard not to get excited for possible matchups. Io's great. Kairi's great. You have to, we talked about this whenever they first signed Hideo and Shinsuke and Asuka, that they're sort of targeting that area, and they haven't had a lot of success yet as far as somebody who they can point to and be like, we can make you like this guy. So hopefully before they get here, they can have that, like, we're trying to do right by you now sort of thing going for him.
I mean, I think this Sunday is going to tell you a lot. They made Shinsuke the centerpiece of that Backlash pay-per-view. So, and Hideo's finally getting his shot on Saturday. Not that necessarily he's going to win or anything. Maybe he does. But, I mean, they're doing it, at least. And Io and Kairi do have a good model in how they've treated Asuka in NXT, at least. So, we don't know what's going to happen to her when she comes to the main roster, if she ever does. But at least for that brand that they're also trying to get to keep continuing to build, they do have some nice models there. Just if you have bigger dreams, like Paul said, right now they don't have anybody. So that's the thing. It's all about what are your dreams, where you want to be at. Do you want to be, main eventing a pay-per-view on WWE TV? We've already seen it happen with the women, so it could happen again. Just got to get over with that audience, and that's what's difficult for the Japanese wrestlers at times. You know, and then you know what this does to again. I know we've talked about what it does to Stardom as far as hopefully you know Mayu's ready to go and she's not going to be retiring and she's ready to take that mantle because it's all hers now. Just everybody else around her's got to go up to her level.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you got to find those. They have some other talent in the mid card that I think they could push up to, and then there's obviously some other workers across the various Joshi promotions because they all really work together. Just because there's only so much of a talent pool there in Japan as far as women's wrestlers go. But I mean, you look at the rest of Queen's Quest, I think they're pretty good, and HCR Hazy and forgetting the other one. And then they have some vets on there that they can fall back on too. So it's just however they want to go about doing this.
Yeah, very true. You know, talking about the Indies, let's talk about someone else leaving the Indies and heading to WWE. Kennedy Brink, and she has actually been an indie wrestler and been around since 2010. But she is not going to be coming over as a wrestler to WWE. She's going to be coming over as a referee, Paul.
Right, Candy Brink has been working some of the Women of Honor shows. If anybody out there has watched those besides myself, this is the first female referee WWE has signed in over 30 years, which is pretty impressive. I'm assuming they're bringing her in to sort of work referee for the women's tournament and sort of just keep growing that it's not just about women in wrestling now; it's about women in other roles in the company. And I think it's. If this is how she wants to go about getting to the WWE, that's fine. But I mean, she's a pretty solid wrestler too. So,
hey, sometimes that's all you need is that foot in the door, and you can go train in an at the performance center, and somebody notices you, and they go, "Hey, wait,
right?
She can do more than just referee."
Yeah, that's very true. You just never know, and then there's always an opportunity, you know, to.
And I feel like you need that though, right? You need the women referees for that tournament because, like Paul said, it shows that like, hey, we got women all over the place. Like I would expect that, you know, they'll have a female ring announcer. They'll probably have. You would hope they could have a female doing the color commentary with JR. I mean, I think I know there's people that get turned off when you have all female everything in these things because they go, oh, it's like we're getting into like feminist territory or whatever. But I appreciate that. Like I think that's great when you go, look, you don't need to have this thing. Just it's only about the women in the ring and then everything else is males around it. If you can make every spot that's important have a woman represented, that's even better for you as a company and for the tournament as a whole because, you know, if women are watching this tournament, they can say, wow, they really have come a long way since in the past where, you know, the women didn't really do that much.
You know, I would agree with you. You just don't want the show, like you said, to be all about, you know, women power, right? You know, you don't want that to be a distraction. I think it'd be great if they kind of had the roles reversed where the people backstage doing the interviews were guys and the color commentator may be a guy, but the play-by-play person would be a female. And I think that would be kind of cool. It'd be like a complete change of roles.
But who's out there that could do the play-by-play and not make the match sound bad?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great question. But once again, if you're going to do it anyway, with the ladies being a part of the entire show and not any male presence,
well, JR's still there, obviously.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, you know, if you did a full girl power thing is what I'm saying.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, JR there, I mean, I think you do have to have, I mean, someone there, a color commentator that is a female presence. I think that would work the best, you know. But I still think it'd be kind of cool to have the guys backstage, you know, I think it'd be kind of funny.
I mean, short of Renee, they haven't had a female do color either ever or very often. So unless they want to 3-person booth it and have her in there with Corey Graves and JR, which those two is the rumored announce team for the tournament. I don't know if they have the option to put a female perspective into the commentary table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what they actually do come up with. I mean, if Corey Graves is with JR, I mean, my God, that's still going to be a good team alone without any third person. So we'll see, though, what all takes place. I do want to mention one thing before we jump into this big meeting for New Japan that they had, and this strategy meeting that was really kind of interesting. I do want to briefly mention here that Hiroshi Tanahashi actually was injured and injured his bicep at World of Worlds. And, Paul, that's kind of a bummer. What have you heard about this?
So it's at the TV tapings, and this is kind of a big deal because he has that Intercontinental title match with Naito at Dominion. So if it's a partial tear, it's expected that he'll work through it. If it's a full tear, he's going to need surgery, and he's going to be out for a while. So it's kind of up in the air because the degree of the injury isn't known yet. It's just we know there's a bicep injury, and that's ahead of New Japan's second biggest show. Well, I guess depending on how you consider the G1 as a show or shows, second standalone show as far as biggest. So this could be very bad.
Yeah, I mean, it could also affect that G1 because torn biceps usually that's like a 6-month deal. So, maybe, and you don't know with Shibata's injury and that whoever's winning that is really kind of up in the air at this point. So. And he's a huge draw, even though, yes, he's been doing 6-man title matches for most of the year. When it comes to that time, that's still one of his times to shine, and it really would suck to not. That's a draw that they can't count on then for the G1.
Right.
Oof, that's just a bummer. I hate that. I really, really do hate that for him. But hopefully he gets better soon, and we'll just keep hoping for that.
I just wonder if that starts affecting, like, when they do have these ROH New Japan shows, if they start making sure that they don't have guys featured in these big... Because I feel bad. Like, every time Tana's gone down there, it's almost like he's either come in with an injury or he leaves with one. So, I think the first one they had, he had the back problem. And they were having to be really light with him or whatever in that show. So I wonder if they'll have to start making sure they protect some of them, especially when you got a big show like Dominion right around the corner. Obviously they can get hurt at house shows too. Just with the time you can lessen an injury for them is good for your company, obviously.
It's a fair point, but there's also the double-edged sword of they're really trying to target the U.S. audience right now. Tanahashi is still a huge star for New Japan, so if you don't send over, a big star or 2 or 3 like they've done before, or all of them, you're kind of losing out on an opportunity to either try to gain new fans or really deliver a great show for the guys who are going to these shows just to see them. So. I understand what you're talking about, but it seems a little counterproductive to think that way when you're trying to focus on growing a new market.
You can still hide him in a 6-man tag or something.
Right. I'm not saying you couldn't do it. It's just, people want to see the big matches, and that's how you get their money.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that it sucks because I'm sure he's going to be in a big match on the US G1 show too. So I'm just saying I wonder if that creeps into their mind at all going forward, especially when you have your own shows. Do you when you're doing a show with ROH, do you say, look, I don't know that we can risk having him for something that, I guess now that it airs on New Japan World, it's all the same. But yeah, do we start thinking about protecting them because we have our own show in the U.S. that we need to run? But
I meant to bring this up earlier too. Like the announcement on a Ring of Honor show about them creating this championship and everything. To me, that really feels like they still value the relationship they have with Ring of Honor. So, do you see any way? Because I don't think the partnership ends just because they start opening a New Japan U.S. touring brand, right? So, I'm real curious how that relationship's going to grow with them focusing on a whole other entity of their brand, essentially here in the States.
I think right now they still need Ring of Honor because they need people to be able to fill up those shows, and you don't have to, aside from the first two, you'd eventually want to get to a point where you don't have to fly Okada over, you don't have to fly Naito over, or Tanahashi over, or whatever. You can just base it with some guys that I think, like Adani talked about, that are going to be based in the U.S. I think you'd still bring, Kenny Omega over and the young, and you can have the Young Bucks on the show and all that. But if you use some of ROH's talent, there's people that like Jay Lethal that people already know. You can draw the card around that. You can draw the card around Cody Rhodes, and
Michael Elgin,
right? All these guys that you're not using right now perhaps this is why they're not using them on the regular New Japan shows, so that when you go to these U.S. shows, you're not tired of seeing Michael Elgin, you're not tired of seeing Cody Rhodes or any of these other gaijins. You can see them on the U.S. show, and you can build the shows around them. And so when you go to if you then you go to the Japan shows, and you have the more of the Japanese talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true. And so, you understand that, they are trying to figure this out, and they're trying to make sure that they make a leadway in this United States market and see what they can do. And of course, still continue to do well over there in Japan. So, we're talking about strategy and the ways they're doing things. So why don't we go ahead and, Sean, why don't you lead us down this journey of the strategy meeting that New Japan held? There's several things here, and I think you could probably go there pretty quickly and let us know some of the big points.
Well, I talked about some of it. That there's the New Japan World subscribers. They're going to start doing shows that are free on New Japan World for that day, not like the free trial thing like WWE does. But just certain shows like, the Best Super Junior tournament that starts in about 4 hours, that first show is going to be free. So you don't even have to have New Japan World. You can just go on the website, NJPWWorld.com, and you can watch that whole show. We don't have to be up at 6:30 in the morning to watch it either. You can just watch it later on demand, and it's free for you. I think that's a good strategy. I think you run into the perils that WWE does, where you do the free trial thing and people start abusing it, and they start making different emails to keep. Like, I don't know how many times I've gone to a Facebook group and they go, I just keep making emails so I can just get the network for free. Well, that's a peril of WWE doing that free trial thing. You need to figure out a way to hanker down on that. But I talked about that they're going to do they're looking for a U.S. cable network. They're going to have the U.S. dojo. They want to continue to grow as far as how much money New Japan is worth. Right now, New Japan is worth $2.8 million, and it was worth less than a million when Kadani bought it in 2012. So that's big. They want to be able to reach 5 billion yen, which is, I think, like somewhere in the region of $4 million. And they're like really close to breaking their own record that they set in the 90s of 4 billion yen, how much the company's worth. So they're really close to that. So that's good for Kidani and for the company to continue to be able to make more money. Shibata went under successful surgery. He's, obviously they don't know what's going to be going on with him, but they've got to watch his progress. Hanma's already doing strength training, and he's kind of getting himself sort of back in shape and that kind of thing. So that's really positive news to hear. Glad Hanma's doing well. I think the important take out of this, too, is that they now have a medical committee that they're going to form to try to, with a neurosurgeon, a spinal specialist, and an orthopedic surgeon, and they already have their doctor has been collecting data on their guys for the last 6 years, and it's to help sort of how can we try to prevent these injuries from happening, or so that they're not as crazy as the Shibata and Hanma injuries. Which this is great. I'm glad that they're doing this. They needed to be doing this for a long time. At least they've been taking the data, and hopefully you can have some kind of wellness system, I guess, for New Japan, and be on the lookout for that to keep improving. That's really good. I hope that all of these wrestling companies that have a little bit of money are doing this, because you need to be able to protect your wrestlers, protect your talent that you're paying money so that they can continue to perform.
Yeah, and especially with how often these guys are working across Japan, and now maybe expanding into the U.S. a little bit more often, and the overseas stuff they did last year too in Singapore, and like they have growth on the mind, and taking care of your workers is something that they're kind of finding out a little bit the hard way that you need to do to make sure they stay out there as long as possible, and avoid these sort of incidents that you've had so far. So the medical stuff completely makes sense. It's good to see that New Japan has grown so much money-wise, and hopefully this expansion outwards doesn't turn out to be to backfire on them, because it very well could.
Yeah, very true. So there you go. That's a lot of interesting information for New Japan, and that's a lot of information that I think people may not have known about until now. So that's great. That's great news, and to hear some of the insights on what's going on. Well, let's move on. We are going to talk about some rapid hits here. We've got a lot of quick hits we've kind of taken some time on, but these rapid hits, we're going to kind of run through them quickly here because we've got a lot more show to get into. So let's start off by talking about Matt Sydal and Adam Cole being done with Ring of Honor. Matt Sydal is going to be soon signing a deal with Impact, apparently, and Adam Cole, we're assuming, is going to go to WWE.
Ring of Honor has offered Adam Cole the ability to come back and work a deal similar to what Bobby Fish is doing right now, which is to work without a signed contract and then just take on some dates until you can actually until it's either confirmed or denied that he's going to NXT. But I would say look forward to seeing Adam Cole sitting in the audience in Chicago this weekend.
Yep. I think we talked about it before, that he could be that guy. Well, there you go. That's interesting. I just think that's man. You got Drew McIntyre, you got Adam Cole, you got all these guys now. So my NXT is starting to get a resurgence there of having talent that you can really market the show around and everything. So that's positive. That's good.
Netflix has a new show coming out June 23rd called The Glow, right? It's Glow TV, apparently, for them, and it's going to be something that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be about, female wrestlers in the 80s.
If you're unfamiliar with the history of Glow, it was a television show produced out of Las Vegas that was based around women's wrestling, with really over-the-top characters and stuff like that. It's also how Ivory got her started in wrestling. So there's a lot of history to go through. The show looks great. The trailer's awesome. lot of big stars. Some wrestlers that are Alex Riley and Awesome Kong are going to be in the show. So if you're looking for wrestlers, you got two right there.
And I mean, the show just looks awesome. I'm convinced at this point, Genji Kohan cannot make anything bad. Just between Weeds, Orange is the New Black, and now this, it's just everything. And this hasn't even see, this is another thing. We take away some of these wrestling. We can review something like this, which is based around wrestling, and it's if you have not seen the trailer, go watch the trailer. You will want to watch that show after you watch the trailer. Definitely. So it just looks really cool, and it's obviously set in a time where women's wrestling wasn't thought of in the same way that we think of it today. So it's kind of cool to see. I guess in a obviously some of that's going to be done to make the show flow better and everything. How much of the history is really going to be there is going to be something to watch. But still, the whole concept of the show looks really interesting, and just seeing this, because all of them started at that point where, hey, they didn't know anything and they had to grow and learn into becoming wrestlers they are, and probably did have women that didn't really go into it planning to be wrestlers, and they turned out to be. So I am really excited to watch this show.
I am too. I'm a big fan of the decade. I love the 80s, and of course, the music is going to be a lot of fun too. So I'm really looking forward to this whole show. Let's talk about Smackdown Live. That's right. They are going to do something that we've seen WWE do in the past, but apparently going to try to bring it back here, and that's picture-in-picture during commercials. So, that's happening with Smackdown, but not heard on Raw yet.
I like this. I think it's a way to try to make Smackdown different, and it tells you that this is the wrestling show. So the wrestling is so important that, it's going to play right there next to commercials. So hopefully they stick with it, and at least make it worth it, and don't make it just them laying on the outside like they normally do when they go to commercial.
Yeah, let's see what this is. Are they going to even have... I'm assuming you can't have commentary because you still want to hear the commercial, but just being able to continue to watch the action, and they don't have to do please don't do the stupid recap afterwards anyway, and go, hey, this is what happened during the break, even though you just watched what happened during the break. Literally, we're still going to show it to you. I think this is great. I wonder if this is just a testing thing to see if they can do it on Raw as well, because apparently 13% of the audience gets retained when they did do the picture-in-picture before. So, hey, that's what you need to keep finding ways to keep the audience from going anywhere, especially when, if they do it on Raw, maybe this is another way to keep them from switching over to Monday Night Football and stuff. So this is a great time to do it when there's not a lot of other stuff on TV. You're about to go into the summer part of the calendar where, you really are one of the focuses of television. Why not do it and see if by the time August rolls around, you can do it on Raw too?
We got Randy Orton in controversy all over again. This happened to be something that happened because of the fact that he tweeted out, and actually retweeted, if you want to say it that way, Rip Rogers kind of running down the indie scene and the way indie matches are, which led to Bubba Dudley getting involved. And then, of course, that spiraled downhill from there with Randy Orton and him kind of trading some barbs. What did you guys think about that?
It was more than just Bubba Ray firing back, but the entire independent wrestling world just jumped all over Randy Orton, and it's whatever. I get it. You're not going to have everybody into indie wrestling. You're not going to have everybody into what WWE does. You're going to have guys that are into everything. I prefer to take Ricochet's point of view of just enjoy what you enjoy. Wrestling has different flavors all across. Some aren't for you. Some are. You just got to find them and imbibe as you wish.
Yeah, exactly what Paul just said. I don't get the point of picking sides. And, it's not like WWE is going to come down and reward you because you defended them in a stupid wrestling topic, So what is the point of going to attack a New Japan fan or an ROH fan or just an indie wrestling fan in general, because they may not like what Randy Orton said, who is a guy who didn't really work he didn't work the indies. He had a foot in the door, and he didn't have to experience, what those guys did. And also is not good for a lot of your talent is from other places now. And you're kind of taking shots at them, and some of these guys are some of your top talent right now. So I think that's not the greatest thing for Randy to do, but he likes to spout off on Twitter, and that's what he does. And sometimes you wish he had a little bit of that fire when he was actually cutting, he actually cuts promos on WWE TV, but, he's going to do what he wants to do on that end.
Yeah, fair enough. Just to let everybody know.
To go on with that, we never talked about it. What do you think about the Kings of Leon guy telling everybody maybe we shouldn't watch wrestling, adults?
I laughed so hard at just how, Twitter is, there's a huge wrestling community on Twitter if you're not on there, and they leaped all over this guy. It was brilliant.
Oh, man.
Well, the thing, it got worse because Veda Scott responded, and he told her to, I've close your legs, or whatever, and that's when the guy took it too far. Obviously assuming that, because Veda does wrestling, not even knowing that, Veda's an actual lawyer and everything. Oh, you must be slutty or something. And that's when, being ignorant gets you in trouble. But I laughed at the whole, hey, adults, let's not watch wrestling. Hey, you could say that for a lot of things. Adults don't watch this, but they do. So
I mean, you got adults watching Archer. Cartoons. Come on.
You have adults watching the Ninja Turtle cartoon, to be more frank, because Archer's made for adults. But, you've got the adults that watch the Saturday morning cartoons still. The adults that go to My Little Pony conventions. I mean, come on. There's other things to attack people for, not just wrestling. Look, this is just a guy that makes a bunch of money in a band that used to be relevant, and I mean, look, they still have they had a new album or whatever, but still.
Hey, adults, maybe don't listen to Kings of Leon anymore.
Yeah.
There you go.
The only reason I even knew they had a new album is because I had one of their songs showed up on Rock Band that was new. That's the only reason. So.
Yeah. They gotta find a way to get publicity. This is the way you do it.
Right.
Just let everybody know really quickly that UK special will be this Friday. It'll be airing 3 p.m. and of course we'll be repeating, at 8 p.m. and it'll just be a repeat because it won't be live at that point. But there you go. Just give you that feedback and let you guys know what's taking place. And of course, this is going to be a big weekend for WWE. Of course, we're going to have that big Takeover Chicago show and, of course, Backlash. So you don't want to miss any of that.
Does anybody think it's weird that they're not going to air the UK TV show when it's prime time for the UK?
That's what I know. Friday, the 2 or the 3 p.m. Eastern time is specifically so it airs for prime time in the UK, and the repeat at 8 p.m. Eastern is so that it airs in prime time in the US.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Thursday regular show is what I mean.
I haven't seen them advertise at all for the Thursday show.
I've seen it. It's a picture of all the guys, and it says 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays.
But you would have thought that we'd just seen something on Raw or SmackDown, and they've only advertised the special for Friday.
It's really weird, and I just feel like that's kind of silly not to have it on for the UK audience at 3 p.m. And you don't have to advertise the 3 p.m. one, just have it on. I guess they could. They could run it at 3 p.m. live and not advertise that in the US. and then just have the 8 p.m. slot for the U.S. or whatever. But just a little weird, I guess.
Yeah. Very weird. But of course, stay tuned and we will let everybody know what officially. And right after that, we'll be right back with me and Paul talking War of the Worlds for Ring of Honor. But let's talk Best of the Super Juniors, guys.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh, the wonderful that the thing just skipped out really quickly, apparently. So, I was getting worried there because it was like telling me, oh, it's reconnecting. Wonderful. Anyway, so the Best of Super Juniors, the annual tournament that New Japan has every year around this time. Probably the home with it. Of course, the first night, again, like I said, that's going to start here in a couple of hours, is going to be all of the getting a match, and then highlighted by the rematch of Dragon Lee and Hiromu Takahashi again. That's going to be great. And then after that, they alternate, like we've talked about for the G1. They have A block shows, and then the B block goes on the next night, or the next night they actually have a show. And then so on and so forth until you have your final that gets made up of the Block A winner and the Block B winner. And, of course, just like the G1, you get 2 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and 0 for a loss. Whoever loses gets 0 points. So there you go, a little backstory so that if you're not too familiar with how this works, you can know much more about it here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to post a thing since I remembered that I forgot to post a picture on the speaker thing before we started here. So, all right, the A block, which is a ridiculously stacked block here. Dragon Lee, Hiromu Takahashi, Jushin Thunder Liger, Marty Scurll, new Bullet Club member Marty Scurll, Ricochet, Taichi, Taka Michinoku, and Will Ospreay, all in one block. Block B has ACH, Bushi, El Desperado, Kushida, Ryusuke Taguchi, Tiger Mask 4, Volador Jr., and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Man, that's some great talent in here. What do you think about Block A? Lots of possibilities here.
Doing the preview for Block A was agonizing just because there's 3 people in this block that aren't going to win it. Liger, Taichi, and Taka, and everybody else is on the table to do so. And that's some rough go. Not to mention the matchups are just absolutely stellar across the board, even for some of the older guys. Like, I still enjoy Taka greatly. So I'm looking forward to a lot of his matches. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with Liger, because this is his last tournament. The only one I could care less than a fig about is Taichi, and God, is he awful. So I picked Ospreay to win because him and I think it's him and Hiromu have the last match in Block A on the last night. So I would say it's not Hiromu. Was it Dragon? I had somebody in Block A, and it was whoever he was facing on the last night was going to go and tied with, and he would win that match to win the block. So I have Ospreay coming out of Block A.
I think Ospreay is a good decision here because, number one, he is a former, he won last year. 2, his contract is coming up, and you have to think that if you don't start doing something with him, he really could decide to be like, oh, hey, there's that WWE UK show. Maybe I want to be on that, or just be, on NXT or whatever. He's big enough he could do that. It's. I think you really gotta think about where that stands for him, and just. I think definitely him coming out of this block is a for certain, just because also you haven't seen Ospreay and Hiromu either. Mm-hmm. So that's a matchup that could really sell. I mean, you don't need it to sell Dominion, but it could help. It draw more eyes. It's a different match that they haven't had yet. I think, you could certainly have Hiromu win the whole thing. I don't think they're going to do that because this is always about making a challenger for that Dominion show. I think obviously Hiromu is going to do well.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to win. I think Marty Scurll could do well, but he could also get your first time here, so you might get like 8 points, and that's what you get. And Dragon Lee is interesting because it doesn't matter how many times you do a rematch between him and Hiromu, it's always great, and it always draws eyes. So you could definitely do Dragon Lee coming out of the block too.
A lot of people have been picking Ricochet too, which is another valid option. But I don't know if they go quickly back to the Ricochet matchup. But I think you nailed it. Will Ospreay is the one they haven't done yet. He's the last big singles Super Junior they have left that they've done a great job of building up and making people care about and invested in. And I think him and Hiromu could have an absolutely bonkers title match. So let's see that.
Yeah, definitely. And just like all the rematches you're going to get in this block, which is amazing. We talked about Dragon Lee and Hiromu on the first night main event. Then you get Ospreay and Skrull again, which that's always great every time they have a match. You get Ricochet and Ospreay again. You get the two elder statesmen and Liger and Taka going at it. You get Hiromu and Ricochet again. So there's just a lot to notice. How I have not said anything about Taichi in a match because we don't need to talk about him. But
I'm really looking forward to Liger and Hiromu too, just because I want to see Liger react to all the weird shit Hiromu does. Yeah.
Well, I can see like Liger just deadpanning it and being like, "Oh, here, palm strike, just whatever," This is a really awesome block to watch. So like anytime this block is on, I think eyes are going to be glued for any of these matchups, and just getting the villain against the crazy guy and Hiromu and Marty Scurll. How's that going to go? I mean,
their match in Rev Pro was supposed to be bonkers. So
yeah, I mean, and then I was almost thinking we were going to go without having a Bullet Club member in the block, and then you get the thing with Marty Scurll, so
they can't have that.
I really want that umbrella.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, Marty Scurll's just a dude that drips cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me, like it's between Ospreay and Dragon Lee. I think for me, Ospreay is probably getting out of that block. B block though, this is interesting too because now Kushida just won the ROH TV title, so does that make it to where we shouldn't think of him as making the final now? Because usually when you're a champion, that championship supersedes whatever you're going to do here. You got Volador in here again, which he had the usual, it's my first time, pretty good showing last year. Do they bump him up this year? I don't think Taguchi is going to get, he's not getting his run again. And then you got ACH in there, which he could be a surprise. Could they finally do something with Bushi? That could be interesting, because I think last year we were all on the Ospreay versus Bushi in the final train. So maybe they do it this year.
Maybe. I don't know. Bushi's sort of taken a back seat since Hiromu has arrived on the scene for LIJ as far as the junior scene goes. The thing I like about Block B is there's a lot of great storytelling that you can do across multiple guys. ACH still has a lot left over to prove from the whole tag title situation that he did earlier or late last year with Kanemaru, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have that going into this. Bushi and Taguchi, that should be a great match just because there's the Taguchi Japan and LIJ feud still going. I like Despy, even though he's not overly entertaining for a lot of people. I think he's a good worker when he's given the chance. But I have Volador Jr. coming out of this as the block winner with 12 points. ACH and Kushida sort of coming up behind. And I want, like... Watching Kushida is why you're going to want to watch Block B. How are they going to treat him? Is he still recovering from getting, shellacked essentially by Hiromu? Or has winning the ROH World Television title sort of righted the ship and he just comes in, straight up dominates and loses in the finals?
It'd be interesting if they do that Kushida Ospreay rematch again. 1 year later, which that's not bad, and have Kushida win. I just feel like Kushida winning and beating Hiromu is like made for a Wrestle Kingdom type of moment. I mean, you could do it at Dominion certainly, but I feel like there's a lot of legs left with that, and you could build it for the entire year and then pay that off. It just depends on how Gedo is thinking long term with that. But this is where you get into, this is a different, like, kind of hard as far as having slim pickings here, because Desperado, Taguchi, Tiger Mask, and Kanemaru are not winning, probably. I mean, Kanemaru would just be a total, like, out of nowhere if he did win. Volador I think is a great choice just because, you're going to get the flippy match.
Right.
In, the final, so you get that.
I need to see that, yeah.
Exactly. I still kind of go back to, could they have the ultimate, like, Kushida gets all the way to the final and he loses. And, like, Hiromu mocks him or whatever, just to fuel that fire. I wonder if, I haven't seen much talk about it, but I wonder if that is going to be talked about at all, if Bushi is a little upset about, like, how he's kind of been put in the background and he wants to prove to everybody that, hey, I'm still somebody not to mess with. That's a storyline there, like you said, that there's a lot here. I just feel like I'm going to go with Kushida because that's that ultimate despair story you can tell of him losing in the final again.
I don't think there's a wrong choice for the people who look likely to win in Block B. I mean, even ACH making it to the final, I would be totally okay with. And if he gets signed long term to New Japan, that'd be even better. But there's nothing wrong with Kushida so long as he doesn't win the tournament. I think because I don't think you want to renege on the story you're trying to tell so quickly, and usually New Japan doesn't do that.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope that we're not trying to rush this and just get it out of Dominion because, the Ghetto's not always been the best with junior storylines, but they've really done a great job with Hiromu building him up this year, and hopefully that just keeps continuing until you get to either it's Kushida or you find somebody new to eventually take his reign down. So, yeah, I think for me, I'm going to go the Kushida Ospreay rematch, and you got Volador and Ospreay. So,
yep.
Either way, should be a fantastic final. Who you got winning?
I picked Ospreay to take the whole thing and go to back, which is something nobody has done since Tiger Mask 4. So, I like the idea of Hiromu and Ospreay at Dominion. It's another huge notch on the belt for Hiromu and his reign and going a long way towards establishing him and all that. Plus, I mean, getting Ospreay back in the conversation of being champion too is something I think not only he wants, but I think something New Japan desperately wants to do too, just because not only do they prize all their relationships I think they have with these promotions, and they usually do such a good job of representing that, and Rev Pro is Ospreay's backyard.
Right. I think you also want to give Ospreay the olive dove that, hey, we do value you. We didn't just bring you in here to put you as part of Chaos and do 6-man tags. You're going to have an important spot here in our company, so we're going to have you win this, and maybe you don't win the title at Dominion, but you're going to be in that hunt from now on. So let's see what they do. But I think, Ospreay just makes a lot of sense here. On my end, I really hope Kushida doesn't win. And Voldor would be weird because I don't think that he's going to be around, too often. This seems like it's not like Dragon Lee where he's going to be here for a little bit. Voldor's really that we're bringing him in from CMLL, and then he's going to go back to doing what he does.
Right, but at that same occasion, whoever wins this tournament, whether me or Sean is right, or whether it's somebody we didn't expect, I don't think they're beating Hiromu at Dominion. So ultimately, if it is Valador, they only need him that one more night, and then he can go back to Mexico. So I don't think you're going to have too big a deal as far as clashing working schedules being a reason why guys can't work Dominion. And if for some reason Hiromu does happen to lose the belt, then I'll have egg on my face.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention it's a huge thing for CMLL to be on one of New Japan's biggest shows, have a guy on one of New Japan's biggest shows. So
right,
I think they'll definitely want to tell him, yes, please go. But yeah, I mean, look, this is going to be a great tournament. You should definitely watch it. Again, if you want to try it out and see if you want to keep watching it, maybe subscribe to New Japan World. Again, this show, the first show, is going to be free. So check it out. You can watch all the guys wrestle at least once. Maybe pick your favorite and ride that wave and see if they do well enough.
Well, there you go. Well, all right, guys. Great job on Best of the Super Juniors. And, of course, we'll be giving you guys the entire coverage of Best of the Super Juniors as it progresses. But now it is time for us to move on. And we are going to talk about Ring of Honor's War of the Worlds. That's right. This is where New Japan and Ring of Honor do clash. And this, of course, happened this past Friday. So me and Paul are going to break this down and kind of get into it.
Absolutely. So on the pre-show, they do have that announcement for the U.S. title, the IWGP US title, and all the talk about the G1 specials. And it's going to be a single elimination tournament. Apparently, there was a miscommunication as far as translation went, because they say round robin, and doing a round robin tournament in 2 days is just nigh impossible. So
yeah.
We then get our first match, which is a 4-way between Kushida, Dalton Castle, Silas Young, and Bobby Fish. Silas Young and Bobby Fish had the feud here. Dalton is looking to try to get back on the winning track, and Kushida is Kushida. And this is a really fun opener. They get about 8.5 minutes. Dalton Castle ends up getting the win with the bangerang on Bobby Fish. And yeah, smart choice here with Dalton. This opener doesn't really do a whole lot story-wise, but it's a fun match.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was meant to be. To kind of kick off things with a bang and get 4 guys that people really do, for the most part, really like. I mean, I think if you're really going to pick anyone out of this whole thing that maybe doesn't get enough fanfare, maybe it is Silas Young. But outside of that, though, I think, it was a really well-done match. And Dalton Castle, I think, also was a great choice to win because, we've seen him in past big matches where he really hasn't done that well, hasn't succeeded. Of course, having his, Ring of Honor title match and falling and not getting a chance to claim that. I mean, this is good to get him back on the momentum train, if you want to say it that way. So I was happy to see Dalton Castle win, but in my opinion, really, anybody could have won this match and it would have been just as fine.
Right, and we're going to talk a lot more about Silas Young on the ROH TV show we're going to cover after this, but for sure, I think Dalton's somebody they have a lot of high hopes for. We know he wants to shop around after his contract is up, too, so interesting to keep an eye on him moving forward, too.
For sure.
We follow that up with a one-on-one affair between Adam Page and Frankie Kazarian. This, of course, Page has been the one sort of sent to deal with Frankie after he got pull the wool over the eyes of the Bullet Club and his little faux betrayal that led to Daniels winning the championship from Adam Cole. This is 6 minutes. It's real quick. Lots of great intensity. And Adam Page ends up countering a sunset flip to just sort of sits on Frankie's shoulders and grabs the ropes to get the cheap victory. Obviously, this isn't over, and what we got here was fine, but this is really just a teaser to something bigger they're going to do down the road.
Yeah, you're right, and, this is the way you do it. You get really brutal, you get really aggressive, you have both these guys want to rip each other's heads off, in which they kind of portrayed that here, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that they gave you enough of it to kind of tease you to say, oh, man, I wanted to see the ending of that match, because not that it was a 5-star match. I may be making it sound like it was just that amazing, but I think they were doing a good job, and they were keeping a pretty good pace, and I think both of these guys really were telling the story in the ring to an extent, even outside the ring, about how much they despised each other. And by Page stealing the victory away from Kazarian, it really gives you that, oh, man, this is just going to get even more heated. And, it just adds that much more. So, it makes sense because they are going long term on this. But outside of that, I mean, I think the match was pretty good as long as it lasted.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and move on, though, just because there's not a whole ton to talk about there. We have this 3-way tag team match here as War Machine takes on the LIJ contingent of Evil and Sonata and Jonathan Gresham and Chris Sabin. I thought this was really good. It's well paced. You have 6 phenomenal workers in there, and they go out there and just throw bombs for about 10 minutes. And I ate up every second of this one, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, this was honestly. I mean, I looked at it and thought this would be good. It outdid just good for me. I thought it was very good. Because I mean, sometimes these matches, especially when you got so many tag teams involved, it could can just combobulated sometimes, and it can either work or work well. And I think that they did a good job in this, and I just enjoyed several of these different spots. And I mean, there was nothing that really just made you go crazy, but outside of that, you're right. The pacing was good. The chemistry that these guys had inside this ring was a lot different than I expected. I think they'd really had something going there for the most part. So I'm happy to see it. And, of course, War Machine doing their thing, of course, being victorious. I really thought that was a smart decision, too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that War Machine does win the match by pinning Sabin here after a pop-up power slam by Ray Rowe. Really, this match just really cinched home the fact that Evil and Sonata need to be chasing the IWGP Tag Team titles sooner rather than later. There's such a great team. I think there's 2 guys that New Japan has a lot of high hopes for, and letting them get a spotlight by challenging War Machine and for those IWGP Tag Team titles down the road could be a big way to go to keep them in the spotlight without having to commit to singles runs for both guys over in Japan.
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. My boy Naito is just as good in the tag team as he is singles. So,
yeah, we'll talk about his match later, because we have to talk about this out of nowhere amazing match. Will Ospreay takes on Jay White. 14 minutes of nonstop action, which is what I assume a lot of people were expecting. But this was more, for me, this was more about Jay White, because even though he does lose in this, Jay White is the one, just like at Supercard, where he's the one sort of controlling the match as far as pace and all that and pushing everything. And Ospreay is just out there and just next level flippy doos and counters and this was so good. This is a definite match of the year candidate for sure. And I mean, my God, Jay White, I say it in the opener every week that he's going to be a star, and I think this is the proof of that pudding.
And did you, expect anything less on the way? I mean, I really expected this to be one of those matches. I really just feel like, oh man, this is right now on the card, on this piece of paper, it tells me this is going to be a match of the year candidate. And you know what? They did it pretty close to that, if you ask me personally. They put it all on the line. Both these guys just really outdid themselves, and it's just a credit to what these guys do. And these guys, are just really well versed in their craft, and they showcase it here. And Ospreay didn't miss a beat. My goodness, this guy, didn't stop. And Jay White you could tell a lot into this. So, there's no way for me and Paul to sit here and explain every little part of this match and to get you to get excited about it. Just trust us. Go watch it. Just go watch this match. If you don't watch anything else in War of the Worlds, I think this is one that you need to go check out. And yes, it's a lot of flippies, but on the, really technique part of it, I think it's really, really well done.
The counters in this too is something else to watch for too. Jay White catches Will Ospreay out of the Sasuke special and just murders him on the ring apron. Absolutely incredible. If New Japan isn't ready for Jay White to come back over to have another junior to work with, this match might have them thinking about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, this was incredible. Mm-hmm. After the match, Punishment Martinez comes in and lays out Jay White with a choke slam. White and them White beat him in Hopkins, which I believe was the first night of the tour. So this is a feud that they're going to go with going forward, which I'm totally down with, because this is two young guns that Ring of Honor has a lot invested in, and certainly I think a feud between them is going to be pretty cool to see.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm glad they did it here. I'm glad that on the big stage, Punishment Martinez made his presence known.
Absolutely. And then we get into the title matches. First up is the 6-man titles as Bully Ray and the Briscoes defend against Hiroki Goto, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta, Repugne Vice, representing Chaos. Once again, Beretta steals the show with another absolutely bonkers performance. Everybody else is great in this too. Bully Ray and the Briscoes, they work so well together. They know how to put these really fun brawls together. And with the other three guys at the other side of the dance floor, they were up for every blow and even more. And Bully hits a super bomb through a table on Beretta, if I remember correctly. And then Rocky eats a 3D for them to retain. But this is a super fun match.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm really, not really surprised, but really happy to see, if I can, use that term, to see that really, honestly, the Briscoes and Bully Ray are really doing something that I really never would have thought, and that is really be a great team. Not that I couldn't do it, but they're just really gelling well. And I thought, maybe Bully would be kind of not in the way, but just be an added piece that really kind of felt out of place. And he's not at all. And so you got to appreciate this, but not only that, you got to appreciate the fact that Repugne Vice and Goto, I think they also really showcase some great talent here. And not only that, show that their chemistry is pretty darn good as well. So I think overall you get a really fun match. It's just, something that's kind of neat and just, really one you just need to sit back and enjoy. Really, you don't have to have so much emotion involved. It's just fun.
Right. Following this, we get the TV title match as Marty Scurll defends against Matt Sydal. I was a little bit disappointed in this, although I didn't know that this was going to be Sydal's last performance, so maybe he's holding back a little bit. Scurll, however, is super over in this crowd. He comes out, and it's almost the Marty Scurll show with Sydal sort of fighting from underneath most of the match until the end, and then Scurll finally locks in the chicken wing. This was above average match, but I was expecting something in the 4-star territory, and we didn't even touch that.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. Now, I was really curious about your ideas on this match too, because we talk about, Ospreay and White on paper and how excellent that looks, and I think you look at this on paper and you're saying, oh man, this match is going to be outstanding, and it just kind of was a little bit underwhelming. And I don't know if maybe it was because Seidel was holding back, or maybe it just didn't work out the way it needed to work out. But I just think it was okay. I, was happy the Skrull won this match because I kind of felt like, you on this, Paul, that, it was all about him.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I mean, really not a lot there. I mean, I kind of was underwhelmed by some of it.
Yeah. Like we said, we don't know what really held this one back, but something did, and it's just a shame because I know both you and me during the preview for this were super hyped for this match, and it sucks being disappointed.
Oh yeah.
Then we get this Ring of Honor tag team title match as the Young Bucks defend against Tetsuya Naito and Bushi. This was fun. More than it was about the crazy balls to the wall action. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of that. Because with the Bucks in there, you're going to get all sorts of flippies and all the super kicks and all the fun spots. But their interaction with Naito was really fun, and Bushi gets in all his stuff too with the mist and the big stuff that he likes to do too. The Bucks do end up retaining after a Meltzer driver on Bushi, and this is it was really fun. That's all I'm going to say. It was really, really fun. It wasn't about having a balls to the wall great match.
Yeah, it was a super kick party. In a way, without too many super kicks. No, I mean, once again, entertainment, I think, is what you would say this was, because of the fact that it wasn't a super serious match. Naito is amazing, like always. I couldn't wait to talk about him. I'm finally getting a chance to talk about him again, and I think that he really did a great job here, along with Bushi, and really made this match work. But once again, it wasn't about being a 4-star, 5-star match. It was about really entertaining the crowd and getting the suckets in and all that stuff. And I think overall, though, you walk away entertained, but yet you don't feel like you just watched, some great technical piece of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Next up is Adam Cole and Hiroshi Tanahashi. They get about 13-14 minutes or so. Tanahashi ends up winning with a high fly flow. This one was a little bit disappointing. If Tanahashi was hurt already before the reported one, it might have shown. But this was very toned down to me. For much the same, I mean, we knew Cole was on his way out. This was his last show on his contract. It was fine, but I mean, from this point, the show's sort of taken a nosedive since the 6-man.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too. It made me start to think after we, talked about earlier about this whole bicep injury with Tanahashi and everything. Maybe that's got to be the cause, because I'm with you. Watching it, I thought, okay, Adam Cole's last match in Ring of Honor. This is going to be drop down awesome. I mean, he's going to put his heart and soul out there. He's going to showcase and really want to put on just a masterpiece, leaving behind one of the companies that really helped build his career.
Mm-hmm.
Yet that is not what happened here. And it was just kind of there. And I hated that, because I think both these guys are super talented, and I didn't know what was going on here for them to just kind of be ho-hum. So, disappointed. I think the stuff following was a lot more exciting. The match itself is just kind of
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, the good stuff is all in the post-match. As Cole sort of stands up after getting his tail handed to him, the Young Bucks show up and give him a hug. The lights go out. Kenny Omega appears on the big screen and says, he's kind of sad he couldn't be here because this is his big moment. And it's his big moment because Cole is done with the Bullet Club. Marty Scurll shows up. There's a big, tussle as Scurll attacks, and the Bucks super kick the bejesus out of Adam Cole. And, it was It was exactly what it needed to be, right? Scroll, who's already super over, and Ring of Honor now is maybe more over because the Bullet Club is just absolutely beloved in Ring of Honor. And, the Young Bucks, they have a new guy that they can kiss on the cheek now, and it's a villain.
Oh, man. I love this. And you could hear the crowd's excitement, right, Paul? I mean, it was just so fun to hear those screams and people being excited that they knew who that villain was going to be. So I think this was kind of neat, and it felt special, and it was special, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, going forward, we know, let's just say Adam Cole's definitely or possibly or maybe signing with WWE. This gives him that clean exit from not having to carry this over to WWE. This is just, he's going to be on his own now. He got fired, so I like that a lot. And they do it in a way that wasn't just, oh, you're fired, super kick, you're done. They add a new member in his place, and it's a guy that actually matters. Marty Scurll is a very big piece of what Ring of Honor is doing right now, so that's what makes it fun, too. And that umbrella is amazing. I want to buy one, too, now.
I wouldn't be shocked if it shows up on the ROH shop sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the main event. Christopher Daniels defends the ROH World Title against both Cody and Jay Lethal. This was largely really flat until the last few minutes where they sort of pick up the pace a little bit. Daniels ends up retaining after he hits the best moonsault ever on Cody, who has a figure 4 locked in on Jay Lethal and retains. I was expecting more personally, and we didn't really get a whole lot of anything from this other than just some busy work until we got to the finish.
Yeah, pretty much. This is kind of the way it outlined to be. And, I think, for the most part, we were all kind of curious to see, is this the time when Christopher Daniels loses this title? Is it going to be Jay Lethal? Is, Cody finally going to get it? And in the end here, we still have, Christopher Daniels walking away, but it wasn't for the fact that he didn't, of course, take his lumps, and not only that, get very close to losing that title. So it was appreciated that they let him continue on with it, but overall, this was not that exciting. This main event was not super spectacular. Just not what you need at that point in time in this show.
Yeah, especially for, the crowd was already kind of tired by the end of this, but they didn't have a ton of reasons to get excited for a lot of stuff after the 6-man match. And realistically, they might have been already dying out after Ospreay and Jay White. So, let's go ahead and rate this. Let's go ahead and rate this before I say what I was going to say next. So, Gary, what are you going to give this show?
Oh, man, it's tough because I think that there was lots of great matches on this card when it came to looking at it on paper, but just not everything came into fruition. And there were some things that really surprised me and a lot of things that I was disappointed in. I'm going to give it a 6. I was not happy with some of the other matches that really I had circled as being big-time matches. I think, Wyatt and Ospreay really were the biggest part that really excited me the most, that I loved to death. Outside of that, everything was kind of, okay.
This show was sort of like a bottle rocket. You light the fuse, and it shoots off real quick up to the sky real fast and explodes, and you get this real pretty light show, and then it just sort of fizzles out really quickly, and that's pretty much it. Like the rocket goes up in the air. You have some really great matches. It explodes. You have Will Ospreay and Jay White. You have some of the light show afterwards, and that's the 6-man. And then you just sort of start going downhill as the light starts to fade away, and eventually it's just kind of a jaunty, boring mess outside of the Marty Scurll reveal. I think a 6 is a little low, though. I'm going to go a 6.5. There's a lot of great wrestling on this show. It's just the matches you're expecting to deliver, especially near the end when the titles are on the line, don't. And that's kind of depressing. So it does take your wind out of your sails. But I absolutely go watch Will Ospreay, Jay White. I would also recommend the 6-man title match. And if you're looking for some fun, the ROH tag team title match is also a lot of fun. So There's some good stuff to take away, but maybe not Ring of Honor's best effort on pay-per-view in this one.
Definitely. All right, we got the Ring of Honor TV taping now that we're going to jump into and kind of talk about some of the stuff that took place there. Let's go and do that.
Let's go ahead and do that. We're still in Baltimore, obviously. As we're on, we haven't quite finished up with the last set of tapings. They open with Will Ferrara and Cheeseburger, with Joey Diesel Daddy Go taking on Chris Sabin and Jonathan Gresham. Shelley is out injured. He says he has concussion thanks to the rebellion, and announces that Gresham is officially signed with Ring of Honor, and sort of puts him over, and the crowd obliges with a nice loud reaction for him. And then we get this really fun tag team match. Ferrara and Cheeseburger are still having their issues. In the early run of the match, you get some of that. Cheeseburger accidentally hits Ferrara with a shote, and that ends up costing the match as Gresham sort of stretches Cheeseburger all out. Will Ferrara has the opportunity to run in and make the save. He does not, so Cheeseburger taps out. And in the post-match, Ferrara just sort of stares at him and then walks out without doing the code of honor and everything. There's still stuff percolating in here. I did overall enjoy this, but there's some disjointed parts in the match. Like, there's a part where Gresham's just sort of walking around and Sabin's doing a spot behind him and almost hits him because he's not paying attention.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I get what they were trying to do here, but, there are those points where you're just kind of like, okay. For the most part, decent. I mean, I think, we continue this whole thing with Ferrara and, Cheeseburger and it not being good and all that. And we've got to see that boiling point finally happen where it does boil over and we see that feud really kind of pick up and get going. Outside of that, though, I mean, this is decent. Not anything spectacular.
Yeah, nothing real spectacular. We go to a pre-tape segment. Jay Lethal is about to do a commercial spot when Silas Young walks in and says that Lethal tried to break his leg in some of their matches recently, which Lethal vehemently denies. And then he brings up the fact that Lethal's the golden boy of Ring of Honor and keeps getting all these sponsorships and commercial spots, and Silas is just sort of left out in the wind. So Silas attacks him and runs Jay's leg into some nearby lockers to sort of repay the favor for all the leg attacks. And then he comes out for this match with Bobby Fish, who, of course, they've been feuding since Supercard of Honor. They had that big brawl. We got to see some more of that War of the Worlds, and we get some more of that here. This is pretty good. They brawl around a lot. Bobby Fish targets Silas's knee. I believe it's his left one. It's the one he has a brace on. And the brace comes into the finish because the Beer City Bruiser's at ringside. He distracts the referee. Silas takes off the knee brace and smashes it over Bobby's head to get the win. I thought this was really, really fun, though. The finish was a little wonky because Silas takes off the brace, drops it, and then has to wait for a Bruiser to distract the referee before he can pick it up again and hit Fish. So a little disjointed there, but overall, this was a really fun match.
Yeah, I mean, it was. And, once again, I mean, I love the fact that, before this, we do have that segment where Silas Young is injuring Jay Lethal. Mm-hmm. And you just show how aggressive he is and how angry he is at everything and what he's willing to do to step up and go past where he's gone in the past. So I appreciate that. And once again, you get it in this match itself against Bobby Fish, using his own knee brace against him. And, so that's a situation where, I mean, really, you got to give him credit for that, the storyline and the build of who Silas Young is. But, yeah, I mean, a creative match, one that I did enjoy fairly well, and I think that, they could even have even better matches than this one. But, good stuff.
Yeah, this was very solid. I think it's sort of an indictment, I think, of where Ring of Honor has Silas right now with them losing people. Silas is sort of at the top of the card now, so maybe he starts getting some more title opportunities that we actually get to see, unlike stuff that's just happening on live shows. So,
yeah.
We get a promo from Dalton Castle where he talks about how he's sort of been losing a lot recently. He brings up his title match at Supercard of Honor. He brings up some other shortcomings that he's had, and says that he's been through worse and he isn't done fighting yet. So Dalton's still out there fighting the good fight. And then we get to our main event. It's a 6-man tag as the Rebellion of Caprice Coleman, Rhett Titus, and Shane Taylor take on Bully Ray and the Briscoes. This is another really fun brawl and another great example of Bully Ray and the Briscoes working together and gelling extremely well. They end up getting the win with a Super 3D on Rhett after he goes for his frog splash and eats some knees. After the match is over, the Briscoes grab a table. Caprice decides to jawjack with Bully Ray, which ends with him taking a super powerbomb through the table. Once again, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it not as good as what we got at War of the Worlds, but still very, very good.
Yeah, very true. And I think, once again, you're really entertained in this match, and I think that they gave you quite a bit to get excited about here. And, what's going on here with this, whole, triple, but, this 3-man tag, situation, has kind of worked out in their favor, and so far it is, and I appreciate that. So, we'll see where they go from here, and of course we kind of talked about War of the Worlds, but I'm enjoying it, and I think even this team of I can't even think of it. Is it
the Rebellion?
I don't know why I want to say the Revolution. Good God, the Rebellion is really exciting now, especially more now that they have this new addition and someone who's going to be a powerhouse, and it honestly could stand up to Bully Ray. Mm-hmm. That was a very important part of this. So I think overall, good stuff here. I was entertained.
Absolutely. That's your Ring of Honor TV for the week.
Yeah, definitely. And not a bad one. It wasn't it's the strongest, but of course, pay-per-view weekends, it's not supposed to be. So.
Mm-hmm. Lots of solid wrestling, too, which is always appreciated.
Exactly. Definitely. All right, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps up Ring of Honor for us. And that also wraps up the show. That's all the great wrestling content that we have to offer tonight. We appreciate everybody sticking around. I know it was a little bit longer show, but we had some big things to do and talk about. And, of course, some, a little housekeeping here for the show. So that's always add some time to the show, but we appreciate you coming and checking us out tonight. Don't forget to go check out W2Mnet.com. That's the place where you go find not only just our content, but lots of other great wrestling content, plus a lot more. Also, subscribe at Wrestling to the Max or to the W2M Network. Both are great. And also, go rate and review while you're over there doing that. So there you go, guys. We, once again, we will be doing a prediction and prediction and preview of Backlash coming up this Thursday night. Of course, will be available Friday morning on the download for you guys on episode 247 part 2, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss that, plus a lot more. We'll be talking UK wrestling, of course. We'll be talking a lot more about what's going on right now in the world of wrestling, so you don't want to miss that episode. But until then, guys, we are out of here. So, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.